Here are the 10 most common problems that can trigger a check engine light. Keep in mind that the fault code that caused the light to turn on in the first place is stored in your car's onboard computer, and you can retrieve it using a simple device to get a precise idea of what exactly is wrong under the hood. Doing this on your own will save you money in the long run. Oxygen sensor failure. The oxygen sensor, sometimes called an O2 sensor, measures the amount of unburnt oxygen in a car's exhaust system. It sends data to the vehicle's computer, which uses it to regulate the mixture of air and fuel that enters the cylinders. An engine will keep running even if an O2 sensor needs to be replaced, but it will burn more fuel than usual. In the long run, a bad O2 sensor can damage components like spark plugs and the catalytic converter. It may also cause a car to fail an emissions test. Loose fuel cap. A loose fuel cap is one of the most common reasons why the check engine light turns on. The cap is a crucial part of a car's fuel delivery system. It notably prevents gasoline fumes from leaving the fuel tank, and it helps keep the whole system under the correct pressure. Catalytic converter failure. The catalytic converter is integrated into a vehicle's exhaust system. It turns the carbon monoxide generated during the combustion process into carbon dioxide. It's a fairly simple part, and its failure can often be prevented. Performing regular maintenance, such as oil changes, on time is key to keeping your car's catalytic converter in working order. If you live in the city and mostly drive short distances, take your car on the highway every now and then to ensure the catalytic converter doesn't get clogged. And as always, keep your eyes and ears open for unusual sounds or discolored smoke coming from the exhaust. Spark plug, ignition coil issues. Put simply, an ignition coil generates the electricity the spark plugs need to ignite the fuel and air mixture in the cylinders. Classic cars have a single coil, but many modern vehicles use one coil per cylinder. It's often called a coil pack. Speaking of spark plugs, worn or fouled plugs can cause a variety of issues, including an engine misfire and hesitation under heavy acceleration. A worn coil can exhibit the same symptoms, and it can cause the car to shut off unexpectedly. Bad spark plug wires. As its name implies, a spark plug wire transfers electricity from the coil to the spark plug. Without it, the fuel and air mixture in the cylinders wouldn't ignite. Symptoms of bad spark plug wires include a rough idle, a noticeable drop in engine performance, and lower gas mileage. Mass airflow sensor failure. The mass airflow (MAF) sensor monitors how much air enters the engine. It's a part of the engine management system, so your car wouldn't be able to adjust to changes in altitude without it. Symptoms of an MAF failure include a rough idle, trouble starting, and a sudden change in the position of the throttle pedal. Reduced gas mileage and stalling can also indicate a MAF problem. Issues with an aftermarket alarm. An aftermarket alarm system can wreak havoc on your car if it's not installed properly. It can drain the battery, trigger the check engine light, or even prevent the vehicle from starting. Vacuum leak. Every car has a vacuum system that performs a wide variety of functions. The brake booster is vacuum operated, and the vacuum system also helps lower emissions by routing the fumes as gasoline evaporates through the engine. If your car's idle begins to surge or settles at an unusually high RPM, a vacuum leak could be the culprit. Vacuum hoses can dry out and crack as they age, especially if they're exposed to intense heat or extreme cold. This is the most common cause of vacuum leaks. Other common issues include cracked fittings and loose connections. Vacuum lines cost just a few bucks each, but tracing the source of the leak can be time-consuming and expensive if you're not performing the work yourself. Exhaust gas recirculation valve failure. The exhaust gas recirculation (EGR) system lowers the amount of nitrogen oxide that comes out of the car's engine and helps it run more efficiently. It directs the hot exhaust gases back into the combustion chambers, which makes fuel easier to burn. It also reduces emissions. The EGR valve can get clogged or fail entirely. If you're even slightly mechanically inclined, you can remove the valve, clean it, and reinstall it in a relatively short amount of time. Dead battery. The battery is as simple as it is important. Without it, your car won't start. Today's batteries last much longer than before, and they're maintenance-free.